Welcome to the Cast Off. This is the #1 recasting show on the internet where two contestants compete by recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. I'm your host, Craig Price, and tonight we prepare for FanX. I am so excited as we recast some of their scheduled guests. So if you would please welcome tonight's contestants. We've got, where are they? Everyone here's to go in. Blake Casselman and Tracy Mangum, both of them will be seen all over the Salt Palace in about 2 weeks. About 2 weeks, 3 weeks? It feels like it's right on the precipice. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing great, Greg. Thank you.
Oh, good, because it's a video podcast, so a nod it works. But I'd like to hear you. We'll start with Blake, because Blake, you are is it the director of programming, or is that I want to make sure you have the proper due, or are you a lesser programming title? But I feel you're like the director. You're the big cheese.
I'm the director of programming, but I'm more like the moldy cheese.
Hey, everyone likes a good brie or blue cheese. They make dressings all the time for it. So don't throw that mold away.
I've been the director of programming for FanX for 8 years now, going back to 2013 when we had our first show. Back then it was called Salt Lake Comic-Con. And it's nice to be back. It's nice to be doing it again after taking a year off.
Oh, absolutely. And this will be officially, I will have been a part of half of all the shows. So when I first started, I had missed the first half, and I'm like, oh, so everyone takes pride in being at the very first Utah Comic-Con, and I'm like, now I can say I've been to at least half, so I've been there more than not, and I'm super excited to be there again. There's a lot of panels happening. We're going to focus on fan panels, because that's the great thing that you guys do at Salt Lake is you gather a bunch of different ideas from people out in the world, panelists like Tracy and myself. And what kind of things are you, besides the cast-off live, which is going to be massive, what are you looking forward to at the FanX?
I don't know, Craig. I think it's like the cast-off panel and then everything else, really.
I feel like that. Is that why you put us at the end of the whole convention?
You gotta save the best for end on Saturday. That's the busiest day. So no, we have a lot of fun panels. Some that come to mind is in the past we've done some debate panels. We've debated, when Civil War came out, we debated, Team Cap versus Team Iron Man. We debated, we had a Harry Potter one where we debated about the character of Severus Snape. And then we debated about Thanos and his intentions back when Avengers Endgame came out. So we are debating the WandaVision TV series. And was Wanda the villain of the series or the hero? Okay. So that's gonna be fun. We're doing a panel on my favorite TV show right now, which is The Mandalorian. So I'm excited about that.
Yes.
And we are we're gonna have some anime content. We're gonna have for the first time we're gonna have an anime screening room.
Oh, okay.
Nice. We've been able to get some content from Viz Entertainment.
Cool.
So we're very grateful for that. And then we're gonna have the Anime Academy Awards for the third year in a row. Or third show in a row.
Nice.
So yeah, we got some fun anniversary panels. We're gonna be looking at the 45 years of Jaws. We're gonna be looking at 40
years of Indiana Jones.
40 years of Indiana Jones. We have some anniversary panels that would have been done in 2020, but I wanted to focus on them. One of them is Flash Gordon.
Because we have Sam at the show.
The great cult film from 1980, because Sam Jones is going to be a celebrity guest at FanX.
Sam is a sweetheart. I had the opportunity to be able to do a live commentary with him as we watched the show. He's such a sweetheart. He's like, he wasn't really wanting to talk because he didn't want to ruin the movie for people. And it's like, Sam, they're here to see you and they're here to talk to you. They want to hear stories. We lowered the volume. And he's like, it's too soft. No, we want people. You're supposed to talk over the movie. He is such a great guy. I'm really glad. I look forward to seeing him
Right.
So that's great. They got the Flash Gordon. I know that for a lot of our listeners here at Matinee Heroes, Ming Chen is going to be there for the first time. I saw him in Houston. Ming is super psyched to be at Salt Lake. He said he's wanting to go with this convention for years, and now that he's finally there, he's super excited. So, and a couple of celebrities that we know we got the Cobra Kai people. And more importantly, we've got people from today, which we'll get into. We've got Jamie Farr and Lorretta Switt from MASH. We'll go right over to Tracy. Tracy, the most important thing on your schedule, I know, is the cast stuff, but what do you have going on at FanX with the Movies That Make Us crowd? That was at one time scheduled at the exact same time.
The joys of programming, right, Blake?
Absolutely.
We're going to be recasting Glenn Ross. I always get tongue twisted on that one. But casting using the Muppets, and I'm going up against my brother, so that's going to be very entertaining to see.
And before that, we're going to do we're recasting Doctor Who with Brandon Uccio and Robert Neal. So we're going to do that first to get people introduced to the concept of cast off. Then we're going to kick it up a notch with you and Troy, because we're going to really throw things up on their ear when we get Glengarry, Glenn Ross Muppets swearing.
Yeah. Craig wants me to do some voices, which I don't really do, but my brother does. So that's going to be interesting. I got to play to the crowd to get some sympathy votes. So we'll see how that goes. But no, I'm really excited. We've got a Movies That Make Us panel where we're going to be doing a deep dive into Black Widow.
I know, because
talking the plot, we're talking like some of the heavier themes that were involved in that movie.
I know that's a very big panel because it is the debut of Heather Price onto the FanX panels. Valerie wanted to make sure that there was enough representation, and she's like, "Who do you know any women?" I'm like, "My wife. She's perfect at this. She does this at other shows." So she's super excited to be a first at the FanX in the panel situation. Anything else?
Got a Terminator 2 panel. There's a bunch of stuff. I think I've got 6 panels total, so really looking forward to it.
Well, it is a super exciting show, and I want to make sure that everyone knows September 16th through the 18th at the Salt Palace in Salt Lake City. It is going to be a massive blowout, mostly because we're so excited to see each other, but also because their programming is top-notch, and it is probably the best-run show in the country. I have a tendency of saying that wherever I go, so it makes the people I'm working with at the time not necessarily the happiest, but I will stand by it. Salt Lake Comic-Con and Blake, you do a hell of a job programming everything. I don't know what it looks like behind the scenes, but it looks like a well-oiled machine from the outside, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yep.
So let's make sure we know what the rules are here. They're fairly simple, as we've not changed anything to confuse you guys. We're going to name an actor, and you're going to give me a replacement. The person with the most points, whose judge gets the judges have picked, there's 3 judges. The judges who have picked the best choice gets a point. If you happen to get my secret selection, that's an additional point. Or if you get my choice, and let's be honest, my choice is almost always the best choice, it could get you 2 points. So if you start to feel yourself slipping, you could easily get back in this game. We have had a 4-run comeback, the greatest comeback in the history, as a couple weeks ago. So it is possible. The person with the most points wins, because we're America and we don't believe in a tie. And if there is a tie, we will do a double feature to win, which I will discuss when and if we get to that point. But as always, the cast off is brought to you by our main podcast, Matinee Heroes. And since we are going to be in Salt Lake, I'm going to be there for most of the month. It's a good chunk. I'm leaving there for the full 9-10 days. What we do is we go in early, spend time with the family, so when we ignore them the second half of the week, they don't get upset. And Alan is going to be doing Fantastic Fest. We will not be around in September, so we use this time to give people an opportunity to join our Patreon, and we highlight some of our great Patreon episodes, and we start off with the Royal Tannenbaums. So you can head over to matineeheroes.com/subscribe, where you can subscribe to the audio podcast, and if you like what you see, you can head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff and subscribe to the video feed. But also, if you don't want to see the videos, do know that every Thursday you'll get the results live right at Matinee Heroes. So let's talk about this. We've got Jamie Farr the wonderful, the crazy, the fun Jamie Farr, and the great Lorretta Switt from MASH, which is why we are choosing tonight's episode to be MASH. The great show, the classic MASH. This is one of the top television shows in the history of television, and the fact that we have both Jamie and Lorretta coming is amazing. We flipped the coin, and Tracy, you were going to go first. So let's talk about it. We've got the great Alan Alda, who, if you could get him to the show, I would knock over every grandma in line to get in front to see Alan Alda. He is fantastic. Who do you have playing Hawkeye Pierce, the rapscallion of the group, the troublemaker, the troublemaker with a heart of gold, I think. Tracy?
Yep, absolutely. I wanted somebody with a lot of charisma, somebody that is going to really kind of own the screen when they're on it, somebody with a sense of humor, somebody with a little bit of a wicked side, but yet somebody who you can feel comfortable being around, and at the end of the day, you know is a good person. I went with a more modern cast this week, and I went with Bradley Cooper.
Ah, yes, Bradley Cooper. Bradley Cooper is known mostly for his Sam Elliott impression that he basically did the entire Star is Born. It was fantastic. But his voice is great because he's Rocket in Guardians of the Galaxy, but he's also got those leading man qualities, as we've seen in The Hangover, American Hustle, and American Sniper, which would bring in the GI part to it. So that leaves you, Blake. Who do you have playing Alan Alda's Hawkeye Pierce?
Well, I too went modern with my choice, and I was looking for a lot of the same qualities that Tracy was looking for when he picked Bradley Cooper. I also, Hawkeye was the ladies' man. Hawkeye got all the nurses, and so I thought, who is someone who, if they got all the girls, I would not be upset about it, because I just, I can't compete with that. So why waste the energy being upset? So I picked Paul Rudd.
Ah, yes. Paul Rudd, the ageless Paul Rudd from I Love You Man. Of course, he's Ant-Man. I love him in Dinner with Schmucks. I just love the ending of that movie. It's great. And of course, he can play that darker side, as we've seen him play goofball, but kind of a scummy goofball in Anchorman.
Yeah. So
we have Bradley Cooper, Paul Rudd. So right now we've automatically have Marvel covered. I went with Tom Hanks. I went with a young bachelor party era Tom Hanks, maybe a little older, but that's the guy that like you said, Blake. I'm not going to be upset that he is going to get all the girls, but also I know that he's going to get in a lot of trouble. He's going to be funny. The judges talked it over, and they decided Paul Rudd, and Blake gets the first point. Well, next is Lorretta Switt's vixen of the camp, Hot Lips Houlihan. So, Blake, who do you have to play the... Unfortunately, she would definitely be a candidate to help out the Me Too movement. She was harassed incessantly, but she was kind of played as the... She was kind of a full of herself. She was a little bit more of a Shelley Long than a Kirstie Alley, if we want to do Cheers, classic television shows. So who do you have playing Hot Lips Houlihan?
Yeah, I did think about the evolution of this character, even going back to the original movie that Robert Altman directed, where she was more of a sex object. She was more of a point of being harassed by the men of the camp, and the early seasons of MASH, you get some of that, not as bad as the film, but there's a real evolution of this character where she becomes a very independent, a very strong female character. And whereas she was kind of the butt of Hawkeye and BJ's or Trapper's jokes in the beginning, she earned Hawkeye's respect as the series progressed too. So I thought about someone in another beloved TV series who kind of started at a place and evolved and became a really three-dimensional character, as she went from kind of like this very serious, stoic, religious person who was obsessed with cats to kind of a more independent, stronger character. And of course, I'm thinking of Angela Kinsey from The Office.
Absolutely. She went from just being a wet blanket all the time to being a fully fleshed three-dimensional character. Because like I said, she's known for the cold shoulders. She's really good at that stoic kind of cold person like she is in The Office, but she's actually very sweet and very nice, and we've seen her in movies like License to Wed. She's in the new Netflix series Never Have I Ever. But she hasn't done a lot of movies, mostly TV, like the Hot Wives of Orlando, which is a satire. And then I've not heard of the Black AF, which is another Netflix series. So she's all over the place. So that leaves Blake. That leaves Tracy. Who do you have to beat up Blake's Angela?
That's a solid pick. This one's going to be tough. I also wanted somebody who is very independent, who is strong-willed. This is a young actress who's really up and coming. She has impressed me in just about everything that I've seen her in. I went with Florence Pugh.
Yes. I like to say that she's the spunky younger sister, because she's the younger sister in Little Women. She's kind of the younger sister in Black Widow. She's not the younger sister in Midsummer, which is a horror film. But she also was, and I didn't realize this, there was a Father of the Bride 3-ish, they call it. It was something they did for Netflix that Nora Ephron wrote and directed, and it had everybody, but she played the daughter of, she was the one getting married again in the Father of the Bride 3-ish. So she's been everywhere. I didn't even realize how much she is sunk into the Hollywood the Hollywood environment now, that she's all over the place.
I really feel like she's going to win an Academy Award over the next 5 to 10 years.
Oh, sure. She's really, really a talented young lady. So we have Angela Kinsey, Florence Pugh. I went with Christine Baranski. I went with that cold shoulder-ish type, very much like Angela, but also just like Angela, just like Florence, independent, smart, and beautiful. And extremely talented. She can sing. She can do everything. The judges decided to go with Florence Pugh. So Tracy has tied it up. It is 1-1 as we move into the funny yet problematic Jamie Farr's Corporal Klinger. Yes, of course, he's trying to get, a Section 8 to... He's trying to get out as a mental incompetent, but he's not. He's very smart. He's a very nice guy. He's just going about it I think the laziest way you can get out. Just all he's doing is just wearing a different uniform. So that we'll start with Tracy. Tracy, who do you have playing the cross-dressing Corporal Klinger?
So I do not know if this individual will look good in a dress. I think that they would, but I have.
They don't have to look good in a dress. I just showed you what he looked like. Is this looking good in a dress? I mean, I think they picked him because they had the hairiest arms before Robin Williams. He's proto Robin Williams hairy. I'm
not one to kink shame, Craig.
I'm not either. I'm just saying this guy wasn't hired because he looks good in a dress.
I went with I haven't seen him in anything except for a TV show that I thought was actually quite charming. The United States of Al, and his name is Adhir Kalyan.
Your guess is as good as mine. But yes, United States of Al is where most people have seen him right now. He's the star of that show. And I looked it up. He played some bit parts in like Paul Blart Mall Cop, which sadly was the #1 movie in America for several weeks in a row, which tells you the state of cinema. He was in Up in the Air, which was a very good movie. And then a couple other things I've never heard of. So he's fairly new to the scene, and like I said, he's a very affable alien. He's always plays the immigrant that people like, and he's a very nice guy. Blake, who do you have to go up against the unknown Adhir Kalyan?
Well, I picked someone a little bit more well-known. Again, I went to a beloved TV show of our recent past.
The same one.
The same one, yeah, as Angela Kinsey. I was thinking of, okay, here's someone trying to be crazy, but the great thing about the Klinger character is that while he's trying to be crazy, he's very enduring. He's very much a very likable character at the same time. And so I was thinking of the character of Michael Scott. He's crazy but endearing, and I think Steve Carell might look good in a dress.
Again, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if he's good at looking in a dress or not. He could look horrible in a dress. That's not the point. I bet he has nice legs. I mean, I look good in a dress. I have great legs. I have the legs of Anne Margaret if she in Bigfoot ever had a kid. But the thing I like about Steve Carell is what you're talking about is that he's got that integrity, even if he's trying to be annoying or not trying to be, even if he's annoying or you don't necessarily like the character. It's hard not to like Steve Carell because he's got that sincerity and integrity like we saw in The Office. And, of course, 40-Year-Old Virgin, where he actually was waxed for the show. You can see the blood from the pieces when they rip them off. Oh. So, and, of course, Dinner for Schmucks again. So you saw a couple different things between Paul Rudd and, of course, Paul Rudd was on Parks and Rec. Did he ever show up on The Office? I don't think he did.
I don't think so. I just watched the entire run of The Office recently, and I don't remember Paul Rudd showing up.
Well, all right. Well, we've got Adhir Kalyan, Steve Carell. I know this guy does not look good in a dress. That is Jason Mantzoukas.
I almost picked him. Dang it.
I picked him because he's the hairiest guy that I know. And he's the funniest. Jason Mantzoukas does a great podcast, How Did This Get Made? But if you've ever seen him, he's got the big, massive, bushy beard. He's got the big, massive, bushy hair. He's just a hairy guy. And I think he'd look funny in a dress. And he's naturally funny. Well, the judges decided that they were going to go for the sure thing of a Steve Carell, mostly because the people I talked to didn't know who Adhir was. And they like, well, I can't honestly vote for him. I don't know what he can do.
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
So now we move on to, now this guy is a great actor, William Christopher. He plays Father Mulcahy, who was a very sweet and kind chaplain of the base. Blake, who do you have who can possibly be as sweet and sincere as William Christopher was?
Jocularity. That's my favorite Father Mulcahy episode. Well, I was thinking of someone who can play sweet and kind, yet the thing I loved about Father Mulcahy is because he was so wrapped up in his mission and his work and his training as a priest, he was kind of ignorant to a lot of things of the world, and he really had his eye open being around people like Hawkeye Pierce and Trapper John and Frank Burns and so I was thinking, well, who is someone from another beloved show? Well, not everyone likes it, but another recent show.
It's a beloved show. It's just because there's a small contingent of vocal people who don't like it doesn't mean millions and millions of people didn't watch it every week.
Right. But he played someone who was very ignorant to a lot of things of the world, mainly because not because of his training as a religious person, but because of he was smarter than everyone else in the room. So of course I'm talking about Jim Parsons.
Yes, Houston
Sheldon
native
from The Big Bang Theory. I think that if they did a reboot of MASH, I think he would be a great Father Mulcahy.
Yeah, he's known for playing uber nerds, but yes, he's definitely Sheldon from The Big Bang Theory. But he's been in some movies. He was so he was the live version of the new Muppet they introduced in the Muppets. So when he went into the real world, he became Jim Parsons. But he was great in Hidden Figures. That was a wonderful story about the calculating team of women that worked for NASA. The Big Year, which I know that Tracy, I put that in there because I know Tracy, you at Movies That Make Us guys did that for your podcast recently, I think.
Yeah, to start off the year.
Yeah, so Jim Parsons is perfect for this, I think, because he's got that sincere quality about him as well, but he's also got that very sweet niceness to him in real life. Having friends that know him because he's a Houston native, he seems like he's just as nice as you think he would be. So now we get to Tracy. Could you possibly beat with Sheldon?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I did enjoy The Big Bang Theory. In fact, I was in a couple of tapings. I was in the live audience, and on the Rock Paper Scissors Lizard Spock episode, you can distinctly hear my laugh. And I had a friend who did not know I attended the taping call me about 3 weeks after the taping when it aired and said, "There is somebody in the audience that sounds exactly like you." And I'm like, "Yeah, it was me." But I wanted a lot of the same stuff. I wanted somebody who could give that optimism, who could give the hope. I went with Steve Zahn. I really like what he's been doing lately. Underappreciated actor.
Oh, absolutely. He's been around for a long time. He is that guy next door. I mean, he can really play a buddy, which he does a lot of the times, but he can play that someone who's caring and nice and sweet. But we've seen him in everything from Crimson Tide and National Security, who plays military people, to things like Knights of Badassdom, and then of course he's in the White Lotus from HBO, which is a big hit right now. So that's
a good show.
Yeah, he can play it all. So we have Jim Parsons, Steve Zahn. I went with a Andy Daly. If you don't know Andy Daly plays the principal on. He was the principal on Modern Family. He has been in a lot of stuff. He had his own show where he experimented things. He's a great improver. He's not a superstar. He's just one of those guys. But they went with Steve Zahn to tie it up again. Tracy, Blake keeps punching you down, and you keep standing back up. Good for you. We've got a game here, folks. So now let's move on to the commander of the base, someone I always call Harry Potter because it's Harry Morgan playing Colonel Sherman Potter, and so I always think Harry Potter for some reason. He has no magical abilities. So Tracy, who do you have playing the great Harry, the great Harry Morgan playing Sherman Potter?
You know, when I was thinking of this one, there was really only one actor that kept coming to mind. There were a few others, but they just didn't hold a candle to this person. I wanted somebody that would be older, which he is. Somebody with a lot of integrity, somebody with a lot of je ne sais quoi, if you will.
Ooh, look at you go international on us.
Somebody who you could believe was a leader in the Army. I went with Tommy Lee Jones.
Of course you did. Tommy Lee Jones is fantastic, known for searching outhouses, dog houses, hen houses, any kind of house. He'll look for you. Great in The Fugitive. Won an award. He's an Academy Award for The Fugitive. He was in Space Cowboys, a movie we're going to probably do for Matinee Villains Month, No Country for Old Men. Of course, Men in Black and Jason Bourne. If you need someone with authority and very smart, don't forget, he was Al Gore's roommate at Harvard. So you can't be a dummy and be a roommate to Al Gore in Harvard. So that's going to be some tough competition, Blake. Who do you have that could possibly go toe-to-toe with Tommy Lee Jones?
Very tough. I decided to go someone, Sherman Potter, he's kind of the straight man to all the zany, crazy comedy going on around him. And I felt like if there is someone who could kind of be the stoic Sherman Potter that could kind of play the straight man to all these funny characters, I'm thinking of Will Ferrell and kind of the latter day Will Ferrell. He's younger than Harry Morgan was when Morgan played Potter, but I think Will can play the authority figure, but he can play the clueless authority figure as he did so well with George W. Bush all those years on Saturday Night Live.
I would love to see him as Harry Carey as Sherman. Get out of here! Yeah. No, that's a great one because you want someone who has the ability to be the straight guy, which in Anchorman, even though he's outrageous as Ron Burgundy, he really is the straight guy to all the crazy people that are around him, even though he's also crazy. It's just that he's less crazy, maybe? I don't know how you want to say that. But yeah, he could do a lot of different things. So we've got Tommy Lee Jones, Will Ferrell. I went with Alan Arkin.
Ooh.
Because I just love Alan Arkin so much. We've been watching a lot of things. I just saw Glenn Ross earlier again. Not for your episode, Tracy, but for an episode we're actually going to do for Matinee Villains Month, because apparently between Wolf of Wall Street and Glenn Ross, capitalism is going to be our villain in October. But the judges conferred, and I think this one's going to be the upset. Will Ferrell overtakes Tommy Lee Jones.
All right. That's an out-of-the-box pick. I like that one.
That was, and that's exactly what they thought. They said, it doesn't sound it when you just say it out loud, but when you give it a moment and think about it, absolutely.
It works, yeah.
Especially in this kind of show. Well, now we get to the real heart of the show, and that is Gary Berghoff as Radar O'Reilly. And he's such a sweet guy in this whole thing, and he's in charge of everything. He's really the brains behind everything because he keeps everything running. He's like the very sweet Mussolini who keeps the trains running on time in the camp. So, Blake, who do you have playing Radar? Which is going to be a very difficult pick because you have to have someone that is a linchpin to the entire camp.
Exactly. In fact, I was watching an early episode of MASH not long ago, and Radar was woken up in the middle of the night, and he had a copy of the early Avengers comic. I think it was issue number 4 on his chest. He had fallen asleep reading it, and everyone knows that the Korean War took place in the early 50s. The Avengers premiered in 1963. Couple that with the fact that Radar is always on top of things and is always handing Colonel Potter or Henry Blake forms before they ask for it. He's saying things. He's suggesting commands before the commands are given. So I've come to the conclusion that Radar O'Reilly is a Time Lord.
That is very good. I love that. That's great.
So I thought, who have I always thought would make an interesting Time Lord? Well, someone, I picked someone small of stature like Gary Berghoff is, but I also thought, who's someone that has really shown through the different roles that they really have an interesting range as a comedic actor, yet they can smolder, they can do a lot of different things. And so I came up with Seth Green as my Radar O'Reilly.
Oh,
that's yeah, very much. He's the Mighty Might of Moguls because he is in animation big time between Robot Chicken and Family Guy. Of course, we remember him from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He was in both the movie and the television show, if I remember that correctly. He played a bit part in the movie. But of course, Scotty No from Austin Powers movies, where he actually turns into Dr. Evil after a while. Yeah, Seth Green, a great choice there. That's well done. That's a good one. So Tracy, now you've got to go up against Seth Green.
Yeah, that's a very good pick. I had a lot of the same feelings Blake did. I wanted somebody who was young, somebody who gives you kind of that baby-faced look, but you feel confident, would be able to handle all the duties that they're responsible for.
He said duties.
I went with Anton Yelchin, who unfortunately left us too soon.
Absolutely. Obviously, he was in the Star Trek movies as Chekhov. Was really good in that a very disturbing movie where Patrick Stewart plays a skinhead Nazi in Green Room. And he was Fright Night, The Beaver, and Terminator Salvation. Unfortunately, taken way too soon. But yeah, Anton Yelchin, that's a great pick as well. So we've got Seth Green, Anton Yelchin. I went with Nathan Fielder from. He's got that show on Comedy Central where he's a business guy that has all these business ideas, and he goes in and real people, and it's kind of a fake kind of situation. But they decided they really, really wanted to make sure we went into overtime. So Tracy has tied it up. It is a 3-3 tie. Oh. And now we begin the most stressful round. And that is going to be played by the stodgy officer of the camp, Captain Wet Blanket himself, Charles Emerson Winchester III, played by the late, great David Ogden Stiers. Tracy, since you started this whole mess off, you get to start the final round. So who do you have playing? I guess he ends up being Hot Lip Houlihan's boyfriend at the end there. And he got that mid-Atlantic accent, and he's just always seemed proper and just a wet blanket and everything. So who do you got?
Yep, wanted a wet blanket, wanted somebody who you feel could have come from money, who would have no problem letting everybody know he came from money. I picked an actor who basically played this character on an entirely different series, but I went with Kelsey Grammer.
On 2 different series.
True. But it was
Yes, absolutely. From Frasier and Cheers, as we all know. Of course, he's Sideshow Bob on The Simpsons, and he was the gold miner in Toy Story 2. And then he actually played the Beast really well in the only thing of anything of value in X-Men Last Stand, because that was a big turd. I'm sorry, I didn't like that one. But Kelsey Grammer was great in it. That's a great pick. Well, now we get to Blake, your last pick of the night. Who do you have as Captain Wet Blanket?
Can I change my pick?
No, you cannot. We'll talk about that in the post show, who you would have changed it to. But no, go. Who do you have?
I'm kidding. No, Kelsey Grammer's a great pick. I decided to go with someone who was also British. I don't know if David
no, he's not.
Was British.
No, he's not. Mid-Atlantic. That means he's just a rich white guy from like New York or Connecticut.
Okay. Well, I went with someone British, but he can play. This actor can play a Mid-Atlantic rich kid too. But I wanted someone who could play the wet blanket, but also someone who could. Who's also shown kind of his kind of crazy side, especially in a lot of the films he's done with Nick Frost, and someone who I could see ending up in my universe ending up with Angela Kinsey at the end of the series.
Anybody in any universe would be happy to end up with Angela Kinsey. She's actually a sweet person in real life.
She is. So I went with Simon Pegg.
There you go. Simon Pegg, known for nerdy underachievers, as he was, in the Star Trek reboots and the Mission Impossible movies. You talked about his work with Nick Frost, with Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz, and his unbelievable CGI work that he did for The Force Awakens, where he refused to give Rey her rations. What a jerk. All right.
But he can play Snooty as well.
Oh, sure.
And that's something else that really kind of made him an obvious choice, more obvious choice to me.
Well, I definitely won't say this in front of Chris Eccleston, but if you're British, aren't you automatically Snooty?
True, yeah.
I mean, like I said, I don't want to brand a whole. And he's from North London, Chris Eccleston, so he's definitely not Snooty. But yeah, I think most British people can at least play Snooty. It's almost a given. So we have Kelsey Grammer, Simon Pegg. Now let's talk about what's going to happen from now on. We're at a tie right now.
It's delicious.
Yeah, we're at a tie right now. So if someone gets the same pick as myself, that'll give them a 1-pointer, but then that means that the actual potential for a tie will exist. If no one picks my pick, there will definitely be a winner tonight. So I decided to go with Alan Rickman because he would be great in this role because he's definitely underserved in the comedy department. Awesome in Galaxy Quest and other smaller parts, but I think he would be great in this. So this means that no matter what happens tonight, it definitely is going to be a tie. Thank you so much, because that allows me to start asking for more stuff. Hey, folks, before we announce the winner, we've got our basic plea every week to, hey, please subscribe. We've done it really well. We've gotten about 5 every week. We're up to 71. We still need about 29 more. I'm hoping to get enough before FanX so that I can tell people to go to youtube.com/Matinee Heroes versus youtube.com/blah, blah, 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 15 numbers and things. Though I know there are a couple people who attend FanX who could remember it. I cannot. But what we're really here for is to make sure that people go to FanX. And one of the things that really has me excited about FanX is if you go to their website, I'm the only moderator listed. I am so excited about this because this is a wish fulfillment kind of thing where someday I wish I'm the only moderator ever at FanX. It's just Chris Provost announcing everybody and doing everything, and then me coming on stage all day long. Of course, that'll never happen, but it does make me laugh, and it makes me feel good. And one of the big things that we want to talk about is not only my schedule, where we've got Orphan Heroes, where I'm going to be doing on I guess that's Saturday at 3, and of course Tracy at 7. But the big Christopher Eccleston. I am so happy to do that. He is an amazing actor from Doctor Who, The Leftovers, of course, Thor: The Dark World. Here he is pictured after someone told him, I'm going to be his moderator, and he went like, Craig who? What? He's got that look like, what the hell? Who? What? Really? Do I need a moderator? Please, Chris, you need a moderator. But of course, always head over to matineeheroes.com/castoff. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel via that. But when you do that, click through the YouTube and sign up. And of course, we'll see you at FanX. So back to the show. We've got Kelsey Grammer. We've got Simon Pegg. We have someone we know who can play a pompous ass in Kelsey Grammer. We have someone we feel can be a pompous ass in Simon Pegg. This one was a hard-fought victory for Blake, for Simon Pegg.
Oh.
Blake,
Nice.
you are tonight's winner, and so that means that you have today's final thought, where you can talk about anything you want.
Well, and I can't believe I won. I lost so badly last time. I'm speechless. But you know, in the spirit of the show we've been celebrating tonight, I just want to say that we live in a crazy world right now. We were hoping to be somewhat away from that crazy world by this time, but that hasn't happened. But MASH is all about people surviving and finding the best in themselves and each other while dealing in a crazy world. Of course, their world was this constant influx of wounded soldiers during this war in Korea, and them being not only on the front lines of trying to save lives, but literally near the front lines where the fighting was taking place, which put them at danger from time to time. And so I just want to say that whereas we have kind of our own unique crazy world that we're dealing with, there are opportunities still for us to enjoy and celebrate life and find our humanity and enjoy the humanity of others in this craziness, and look forward for the time when we can leave that crazy world, just like our TV friends from the MASH unit did in the season finale, which I think is still the #1 rated single episode in television history. Correct?
It's the single highest non-Super Bowl show ever. Yes.
So episode for a series.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
so anyway, that's my thought.
Very well said. But we still have things to go for next week. And next week, we continue highlighting more panelists from FanX. That's right. Right here on the Cast-Off, we have Mark Woodring and the wonderful and talented Tammy Anderson as we recast a Quentin Tarantino favorite, Kill Bill Volume 1. So it'll be a highly contested event next week. But want to be on the show? Go to matineeheroes.com/castoff/application and fill one out. You too can be on the show. That's how Mark got on the show. I believe Tracy pointed him in that direction. He filled one out. He seemed to be not crazy. Was I wrong? And he got on the show somehow. You can also send emails to mhcastoff@gmail.com. Basically, if you send that for the application, I'll just send you the link. But, of course, I always like to hear feedback and happy thoughts as well. You can find us on Twitter at The Castoff Show. Follow us on Facebook. Of course, matineeheroes.com/castoff will lead you to the links such as twitch.tv/matineeheroes. We'd love to see you guys on to subscribe to the show. We need as many subscribers as possible. But special thanks to additional judges Devin Pike and Alan Cerny. Yes, Alan joined us my co-host, joined us as we were doing Wolf of Wall Street, and I corralled Devin Pike and Alan Cerny as judges. So if you have any questions, comments, or if you're upset about anything, talk to Devin and Alan. They're the ones at fault. But on behalf of tonight's guests, of course, Tracy Mangum and tonight's winner, Blake Casselman, I am Craig Price, and you have been watching The Cast-Off.